You ever look at the anatomy of a toilet? I taught myself ceramic mold making from the toilet video and how it's made. I'm Andrew Atkin. I'm the plastics technician for the plastic studio of OCADU. I'm also a practicing multimedia artist, doing works in ceramics, plastics, some video pieces and other random little bits and bobs. I was first an industrial design student, deferred a year, came back into sculpture, graduated while monitoring in this studio and up in the Material Innovation Center, became a CA, went off to do a year of food science, and then came back into the tech position. I got all sorts of random things on the go, such as this chain that I'm building in here. And at home, I have like a mold making and ceramic studio built into my apartment. Back when I was a student, I remember getting into all the studios. And in high school, I had done wood shop, I had done metal shop, I had done ceramics in high school, done sewing, and what I was like interested in was the stuff that I had no understanding of. So I took like the bronze foundry class, really like that. Took plastics and saw all the possibilities for it. The scenery has changed much over my life as an artist. Like, I grew up in a small house in the woods up in Muskoka, and we would spend like 3/4 of the year in a house with electricity and then 1/4 of the year without in a small cabin. And then coming to Toronto was a big shift because it's like, I don't know, everything's everywhere. Got a cell phone for the first time. Yeah, it's like rode public transit for the first time in my life. Started getting into the like casting mushrooms. It was in the year of the pandemic where I was like trying to figure out what I could do in my house. And then I started growing mushrooms in these ceramic vessels. Vessels kind of like this, where on the bottom it's a ceramic replica of a plastic. Yeah, so this is a replica of a styrofoam cup. And then above it, it coils into like a vessel that's kind of mimicking the amphora, but that then has this weirder, kind of ambiguous top to it. And this was part of like my thesis works. But I got into casting ceramic replicas of plastics and selling those. So like making replicas of like ramen cups and mushroom containers. But then I started growing those mushrooms inside the mushroom container. And then I'd fruit the mushrooms from that and then sell that as a whole piece. So people would buy a bowl and they'd buy edible mushrooms, and then that little block, they could either keep it or compost it, or who knows what they did with that. Mostly I start with writing, and then I draw some little sketches. These are very, very dead simple. There's like a little head here. This turned into a ceramic anchor for anchoring water plants. But this is just some like random 2D type stuff. And I actually moved right into the computer. So I make all these jigs in Illustrator. So I would laser cut out a template like this, and we got some of those over here. Yeah, so I got those there, and I'd laser cut them out into this template, and then I would trace it out on something like MDF or whatever free material's been thrown out. I'm always dumpster diving, so it's like, even this black acrylic was thrown out by a wedding company. This MDF I pulled out of the OCAD trash. I bought this hard maple. That's a piece of maple right there that's burnt. And then this is waste from the film crews of Toronto. If it still had the paper wrapping on it, it would be somewhere in the range of like $15,000 of fresh material. But we just, rather than letting some company throw it in the garbage, I brought it here and I just give it out. And it opens up the doors to make so much random stuff. Yeah, and that's I think like one of the biggest factors. I can remember back to when I was a student. It was like, do I want to eat good food or do I want to make stuff? I wanted to make stuff. So much of this stuff is like still here as examples for the studio. It actually all started with this, which was a little project making these hand casters for fishing. And it started all from this form where I just chose materials and tools that were available and that I knew how to work with. Yeah, I even took this like visual language into building a font that could be routed out. So then like I could use that for adding graphical elements to all these components. This has been something I've struggled with for a long time. I've always found it easy to come up with like ideas or find inspiration to like build something, but to have like a unified design language around that, I felt like I didn't have anything that was specifically unique to me. Like the ideas I think were quite unique to me, but if you were to look at one thing and then the other, I don't think you'd see a design language that was cohesive. But I think it came from my childhood, just like the resourcefulness that my parents showed me. Like when I was a kid, I'd be driving down the road with my dad and he'd see like a 2x4 that had fallen in the ditch and we'd hop out and get it. He was always showing us that as kids, so we'd be scrounging for garbage and whatever we could get. That's how our house was built. That's how I still make stuff today. At the end of every school year, all the students move out of their apartments, and I feel like there's got to be some super rich students in those apartments, because like I've got a Timbuktu backpack out of the garbage there. Who's throwing out a backpack like that? But like I can't pass up a $300 backpack. We're trying to make a positive spin, trying to take it to a better place, but like you can't get around the fact that, you know, this is plastics. The only thing that makes this kind of enjoyable for me is the fact that this was going in a dumpster and now it's a thing rather than like toxic sludge draining into our water table. I used to ride a steel frame bike. I put like a rack on both the front and the back specifically for picking random stuff off the sidewalk to turn into art. And now that I've switched over to this like lightweight bike, just so it's easy to carry up the stairs in my apartment, I only have the front rack. So, you know, I'm not getting as big of hauls anymore, but I'm still managing to take some nice things home. It's just set as a single speed right now. I used to ride it fixed. I do want to actually get the gears going on it, but I bought this thing off Kijiji, Frankensteined it together with other random parts, and it's doing the job. I've done all the maintenance for it, but I think I broke the gear shifter when I tried to install that. So right now it's just set as a single speed, and the gear shifter is not even attached to my handlebar. It just like dangles off the front, and it's like just with a bungee cord. Yeah, want to go look at it? Want to go bike?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, sweet. Let's go.
Today's episode of Bikes of OCAD is brought to you by the letter B. B for brakes.
Brakes come in all shapes and sizes, but they all work the same way, using friction from a pad to a surface to slow down the momentum of the wheel and then the bike. The most common type of brakes are rim brakes. You'll see these on many commuter and budget bikes because they are very reliable and low maintenance. These work by the calipers gripping onto the rim. You might also find disc brakes. These brakes work similar to those in a car, where a disc attached to the wheel is clamped onto to slow the wheel. These often have better braking performance but sacrifice cost and simplicity. You'll often find them on higher-end road and mountain bikes as well as many e-bikes nowadays. You might also find coaster brakes. These work by pedaling backwards to activate a brake in the wheel, mostly in kids and commuter bikes. Sometimes, you might even see bikes with no brakes. Fixed-gear riders might choose to run their bikes brakeless and rely on backpedaling and skid stops to slow down. No matter what type of brakes your bike has, we hope you ride safe.
I think we'll let this big truck go and then squeeze onto it. I think we go down here. The goal is to prowl for loot. I think garbage day is like Wednesday in this neighborhood. So we're a little ways off for good garbage pickings. But it's just a matter of weaving these streets. The first bike I bought in the city was from 12B.
Yeah?
Yeah,
How was that experience? You popped it off Kijiji?
bought it
or-
off Kijiji. On the way home, both the tires popped. and the brakes failed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that was not a proud moment. Biked
Yeah.
it home with no helmet, which good thing I didn't die. Next day went straight to mech, got all the parts, got a new helmet. But even little alleys like this, you never know what's getting thrown out by businesses. It's also just so nice to go into these back streets and look at all the brick homes. Like, look at that stained glass.
That's pretty.
It's gorgeous. And then look at that abysmal painted brick. How dare they? Especially if there are these old bricks, because they put so much care into the masonry. Like, oh, it's just so sad that it gets covered up. Especially in a bad paint job. This corner lot here, I've always loved their gardens because they have such a strange collection of trees. They used to have a white pine, but it looks like it's gone now. I'm gonna hit this crosswalk. All right, they're stopping. This was my old neighborhood. I'd choose like a different path to walk to school every day to maximize the garbage picking. I just love how fast and like open the city becomes with a bike. You can just go anywhere. So smooth, so fast. Do you ever go biking just to like think? Almost like biking to meditate?
Yeah. I was talking with Nicole Collins, and her route cuts through a nice little park,
Yeah.
and she rides as slow as possible. So she treats her entire commute like a little meditation process.
Yeah. We're gonna go in here.
Oh, I overshot
I
it.
miss you. Yeah. I used to live in 12 Glasgow.
Oh, these spots are nice.
It's pretty sweet. But they butchered this park. They took away all the grass, probably because people were leaving dog shit in it or something. I don't know. I do like this rubbery stuff. It feels so nice on a bike. Do you like
Feels
that
squishy.
texture? Can you feel that texture through
Yeah.
your tires?
Oh, that's weird. It's like kind of like riding through mud, except you're not sinking all the way.
Yeah, and it doesn't slow you down.
No.
I was thinking about this with like snowboarding. It's really nice when you go into powder
Uh-huh.
and it becomes very soft, and it also just becomes quiet. When you're on this rubber, there's a lot of that noise. It's the friction of your tire. And you go into this and there's like all these vibrations on a hard surface. But you get onto that and like the world just becomes a little quiet. In the winter and spring, a lot of these places start farming, growing onions and stuff. But I love seeing it when like when whoever owns the house is farming the front lot. Even right over here, it's not farmed anymore, but the onions are wild now. At least they were back when I was living up there.
Uh-huh.
And they just have like wild onions growing in their front lawn. So there's something. I think it's a broken mirror.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, if you had a glass cutter, you could like just scribe across that and ting into a perfect rectangle. You ever look at the anatomy of a toilet? Back when I was a student, couldn't get into ceramics classes, but I looked up on Wikipedia, no, not Wikipedia, we looked up on YouTube the old videos of how it's made, how they did ceramics,
Yeah.
ceramic molds. Taught myself ceramic mold making from the toilet video of how it's made.
Did you make
Robin
yourself
the
a toilet?
tech did not like it. She still doesn't like it.
Does she still work at OCAD, or?
Yeah, she still works there.
You should bring that up with her. It's like, hey, remember how I researched how toilets are made?
Oh yeah, I walked in and she was immediately like, this is horrible. I hate this. Do better. As a cyclist, how do you feel about going down the one-way streets?
I don't mind it as long as it's not like too narrow to the point where if there's oncoming traffic, they kind of have that look of shock where they don't know what to do.
Yeah, I don't want to get hit.
Yeah.
That's not the goal. But I do want to go down there.
Yeah.
Go back down there through the Grange, back to OCAD. If that wasn't fenced, I'd be looking in that dumpster. If you go to construction sites and ask the workers, they'll often give you like huge pieces of PVC pipe, offcuts of like the insulation foam and plywood. We should go look in that dumpster. Looks just like the dump. Yeah, that glass would have been really nice.
Oh, that's nice.
I think it's actually sheets from the AGO.
Oh, damn.
And what do you think about bikes that go through parks that say, don't bike here?
I'm okay with that.
I think as long as it's slow and given the priority to the walkers.
pedestrian.
That's a good pallet. Holy.
Oh, those are mint. Haven't
That
even
looks
been
like it's
touched by
fresh
the
off
rain.
the press. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah. Any last things you want to say to the folks at home?
Wear a helmet. Don't dome yourself. Coming from someone with a brain injury. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.